was recommended by Rebecca. And so we gave him a call and felt that he would be a great way to initiate the new year of 2021. Jack Heckman has joined us, and he has been a resident of Port Angeles since 1975 and graduated from Port Angeles High School in 1977. He graduated with his BA in Business Administration in 1982 from Washington State University. He is the third generation owner of Heckman Motors, which includes Ava's Rent-A-Car, Budget Rent-A-Car, 8th Street Car Wash, and Heckman Parking Management. But probably what's most notable is the moves that he's had to make within the last couple of years for the downtown renovation. And what came to mind and why we invited is his vision and his efforts up on 8th Street. So with that, please welcome Jack Heckman. I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. I thought I'd just kind of give a little bit of background on how we ended up with this property. It was a big move for us. We had been downtown across from the ferry for we were into our 30th year of leasing that property, and kind of came to a surprise that this property was being sold. And of course, everyone knows that the Elwha tribe purchased that property. We've been very supportive of that. I think it's a great project, and when that's completed, it's going to be a big addition, great addition to the downtown. So we were very supportive of that whole situation, but it put us in that position where suddenly we had to move, and we had to move fairly quickly. So we started looking around thinking this should be relatively simple, go find another piece of property and, build something, buy something that's already existing, who knows. But what we really quickly found out is that because we wash vehicles, the restrictions that are in place for doing that are pretty big and require a lot of infrastructure and expense. So we also wanted something that was located in town, hopefully close to the ferry. A lot of our business for our rental car business came from Canada before that was shut down. But it made it really a one location that actually made sense, and that was the location we ended up purchasing, which is between Laurel and Lincoln on 8th Street. And when we first started looking at that property, I don't know if many of you remember, but it was a mess. It had been purchased in about 2007 by an investment firm that bought the property, speculation for a new Rite Aid store. And Rite Aid was going to move into that spot. And so this company went in and bought what was numerous businesses, starting on the corner. Everybody probably remembers the old Red Clock Deli, which was torn down and remediated on that corner. And then there was a flower shop that was next to that, but it had previously been a video store. Then there was a little drive-through hamburger stand that was Rocket Hamburgers for a few years. And then there was the Blue Dolphin Car Wash next to that. And then next to that was, I believe it was the old Social and Health Services building. It was a government building for a while. We didn't need that much property. We needed an office and a place to wash cars. So we tried to just purchase the car wash and the office that was next door, but that's not what they wanted to do. They wanted to sell the whole property. So we had to start looking a little more closely. And when we went through and started looking at the individual buildings, they were mostly completely shot. The car wash had been completely stripped, all the metal off the rooftop, all the electrical, all the plumbing. It was basically ready for demo. Same with the little hamburger drive-through and the flower shop. They had leaks in the roof. They had been broken into and slept in, bonfires in one of the buildings. It was really bad. And so the last building we looked at, though, was the one that was the old Social and Health Services building, which we expected the worst when we walked in there as well. But to our surprise, we got in and it was not only dry, but it smelled good. And so it was really a breath of fresh air, and actually was what kind of decided us, to try to make the offer on this property, because we had a place we could move in relatively quickly with not a whole lot of renovation. And then the car wash next door, we knew we had a big job there, but we could at least hook up a hose to it and use one of the bays to wash our cars to get us started. So that's kind of how the whole thing began. The next big thing, of course, was, how do you take on a project this size? And of course, it's one building at a time. So fortunately, because we've been in town so long, we had a lot of friends that were contractors in town. My brother was a contractor for years and years in town, and he flew in from Florida and helped me look at the whole thing. And he actually flew up and helped do some of the construction. But we had some great help from local contractors in town, including Olympic Electric, Can Do Construction, Northwest Inside Out Painting, Alex Anderson Concrete. All these guys literally pulled out all the stops to help us move quickly, which we needed to do in order to keep the doors open. I also got to say that the city was fantastic to work with. They badly wanted to see this whole block looking better, because it was just an eyesore for everybody from one end to the other. So they navigated the waters for me in getting through that whole project. And Jim Lyerly, the building inspector, just walked me through everything. He was fantastic to work with. So we just started one building at a time. And the car wash was obviously the biggest part of the whole thing for us, and required the most amount of money. We ended up with a company out of Yakima that specializes in putting in car washes, and it's called Northwest Wash Systems. John Keevy is the owner of that business, and never could have done it without them. We told them up front, we want to put in a first-class facility. We want all the latest, best equipment. We want the town to be able to have a car wash that will last for years and years and be, the best possible scenario that anyone could want. And so they did that for us. We got all top of the line equipment. Everything's brand new, all the electrical, all the plumbing, everything. And so it really turned out well. We're really happy with it. And then we ended up just one by one getting some fantastic tenants. We were introduced to Trevor Shumway, who now owns the Firehouse Grill next door to us. And we worked with him in rebuilding that building. We just kind of fell into the other building next to that, which was the old flower shop. Krazan Engineering needed a place in Port Angeles to have their lab and an office. And so we rebuilt that building for them. And then, of course, the most recent one is Peninsula Behavioral Health. And that all started off with a conversation with Rebecca. And I just kind of had mentioned that, our office is so big that we have, and we're a small company, that, maybe you guys would be interested in a little bit of, the back office space. And well, that led to a meeting with Wendy, and next thing I knew, they wanted the whole building. So we ended up putting a deal together with them recently, and they should be moving into that office. Talked to Wendy yesterday, sometime hopefully in the next week or so. And so we were able to remodel one of the bays in the car wash for our new office. We had an extra one. And so we are now operating out of that for our Avis and Budget Rent-A-Car. And so that's kind of how the whole thing developed. I'm open to any questions that anybody has. It's been a really good experience. And so bring it on.
What's next, Jack?
Right now, we're looking for something to happen on the corner. We had gone through and actually gotten a conditional use permit with the city, thinking that it would be an excellent location for food trucks, especially with the environment that we have right now. And so last summer, we did have one food truck. We put in the infrastructure for that. We brought in water, we brought in electrical. Michael from Cocopelli's Grill put in his food truck at that time when his restaurant was shut down. And we worked several months with that with him until they opened his restaurant back up again. And he decided that he just wanted to operate from the restaurant, which I knew up front. He had told me that, you know, when that opens, he'd probably be done with that. And so we kind of marketed that for a little while to see if anyone was interested. But quite honestly, I think, you know, with COVID and everything, a lot of people are really reluctant to try something or spend the money to do a food truck. They're quite expensive to purchase. And so we never really got any more bites on that. And then, you know, then recently we found that Peninsula Behavioral Health also was in need of some more parking. So we have leased out some of the parking area of that paved portion of the property. But we would like to see something happen on the corner. It's probably, I got to say, one of the best corners for a business in all of Port Angeles. It's one of the highest traffic areas there at Lincoln and 8th Street. It's it's even got one of the best views in town. When you stand there and you look at the mountains, it's gorgeous. So we would like to, and are pursuing right now, some, you know, somebody who would like to have that location. And so that's kind of where it's at right now.
Jack, how has COVID affected your core business, the Avis and the rent-a-car, et cetera?
Well, as most of you know, the transportation industry has been devastated. And Avis and budget were off about 60%. I'd say normally in the summertime between Avis and budget, we operate about 75 cars. This summer we operated 14, just to give you an idea. That's how much impact there was. And of course the border was closed. We usually rely on a lot of business out of Canada. So that was eliminated 100%. So yeah, it was a big shock to us, and it required us to downsize. We had to lay off some employees and reduce hours. But the good news is that, you know, we've been in business a long time. It's a family business. My son now is with us as manager for the company, and he'll be the 4th generation for Heckman Motors, which is pretty cool. He and his wife moved back to Port Angeles to become part of the company about 4 years ago. So I'm really excited to have he and his wife here in town.
Do you have any other partners kind of in that block of energy and business that you can see having the ability to grow that into kind of like a, not necessarily another downtown, but definitely an energized business focus?
Well, I can't say that I have any partners on anything else there. You know, the biggest changes that we have seen since we started doing the remodels was just a real focus from some of the other businesses to improve the aesthetics. Peninsula Behavioral Health, if you look there, I mean, they've completely brought that building up, repainted, put up new signage. It really looks nice. They did a great job. And even the bowling alley, it had been hadn't been painted for a long time, and they came through and repainted and trying to, you know, the whole 8th Street area through there has just really improved dramatically. I forgot to mention that First Federal helped fund the financing for our program, and they were extremely excited because, you know, their upper views from their administrative office, they're just off of Laurel, looked down on that mess before we started working on it. So I worked with Jesse Long. He was our loan officer that we worked with. He did just a great job putting together the package for us. And I know that they're really excited about the whole 8th Street improvements that are happening. And so I just see that other people are going to start working more and more. I know Another person who's redone a building on 8th was Dana Schultry. He's got a building that I think is available right now. And I went through, he did a beautiful job on it, like he does on everything. But yeah, I think one by one, almost every building on 8th Street eventually is going to be, it's just going to be a great corridor for business. And it has been for us. It's been very successful.
Jack, I watched you do
Exception of
that.
the downturn of the rental car industry.
I watched it. I appreciate what you did there. I was over in the CPI building across the street on the second floor up there. It was really fun to watch that get a lot nicer looking. So I appreciated that. And, Wave, I was in there, but Wave actually pushed me out. They took over that whole building. They're going to make that building look nicer as well and move their Port Angeles headquarters into there. So that'll be even more good views for you guys.
Yeah.
Has the city or has anybody talked with the city about how to, when stimulus and when you finally move post-COVID, to move people up, say from the Coho or from the downtown area up into 8th Street? Has there been any talk of that?
No, I haven't heard any talk of that. Before the COVID hit, we actually ran a shuttle van to and from the ferry so that we could pick passengers up there, and it worked really well. In fact, we just made sure that we had a van there for every sailing, so that if anyone just happened to get off, we would pick them up. We've also had discussions with the Elwha tribe about actually having a little counter inside of the hotel so that make it even easier. One of the real advantages that we had of being right across the street from the ferry was, literally if they needed to rent a car, they could just walk directly across the street, which was fantastic. We also had, a lot of you probably remember us for having the Dungeness bus line, and that was right there across the street as well. So people could get off and literally hop on a bus and get to Seattle. So that was a great location for those items, but 8th Street really hasn't really hurt that much, simply because we're still making it easy for passengers.
Excellent.
Hey, Jack, should we tell everybody like our big dream for whenever this post-pandemic thing is, and that we are able to close down some streets and have a big old block party?
Rebecca hit me up with the block party, what was that, a year ago, maybe 2 years ago? And I can't believe how time flies. But yeah, we want to literally shut down the block, bring in a band, have food, and have a block party up on 8th Street. And, obviously we can't do that right now. Everybody's restricted as what we can do, but I'm hoping that's going to change soon. I'm sure ready to be over with the whole thing. I feel so bad for so many of the businesses that can't operate right now. And I'm so looking forward to this being behind us, as I'm sure all of you are as well. But yeah, block party.
Well, we do have our Jam in the Park every year, and that's been delayed. So maybe, maybe we can combine efforts there, right?
Yeah, a great idea.
I love it. Any other questions for Jack?
Let's just ask Jack if he likes getting up at 6:45 and coming to 7 o'clock meetings on Fridays.
Well, let's see, it's 7:41 right now. This is usually about the time that my eyes start popping open and starting my first cup of coffee. So I see we actually have light out right now. When I realized the meeting was starting in the dark, I knew that this is not usually it doesn't fit my biorhythms real well.
Thanks for showing up, Jack. You've done an amazing job over there. And, I've had to look at that property for almost 9 years. And you've been like an anchor on that revitalization of 8th Street. And we're thrilled to have you as a neighbor.
Thanks, Rebecca. We're thrilled to have you guys as a neighbor as well.
Well, on that note, thank you so much for joining us, Jack. And we just love seeing the changes. My sister-in-law worked at the round the clock for years. And so it sat, as you know, and just to see the energy that's going into it and the effect it's having on the other businesses and actually extending our downtown core. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions from our club? Jack, again, a great, really appreciate you joining us this morning, and you're doing fantastic work there. You know, we're all seeing the difference, and we love your dreams of what you have envisioned for 8th Street going forward. Personally, I think, you know, after COVID and things are opening back up, a food truck courtyard would be really cool. I know that would be a hot item. But so with that ado, we're finishing early, give everybody 15 minutes back in their day. Just a friendly reminder to the board, we have our board meeting next week, Wednesday morning. So with that, I'll go ahead and conclude today's meeting. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.